Well, hello, I'm Will Gavin.
And I'm Gregg Rosenthal.
And you are listening to the talkSPORT Daily Podcast. Thank you for being with us. Today is the day. NFL Sunday's well and truly back. And that's what today's podcast is all about. We're going to be taking a look ahead to another huge season and taking a deep dive into some of our favourite storylines to look out for across the year, plus telling you about some of the rookies that UK fans should be keeping an eye out for. Greg, for people who are maybe familiar with the talkSPORT output but not yours, it feels unlikely that that's the case, but Gregg Rosenthal is the host of NFL Daily, brilliant on NFL Network. You'll have seen him on Channel 5 here in the UK for many years. How are you doing, sir? How's the summer been treating you? How hyped are you for this weekend?
I cannot wait. Week 1 is my absolute favorite week of the weekend. Love the entire season. Maybe divisional round, but that's a long way to wait. So of this year. And you forgot my favorite part of my resume. I've helped you announce the Super Bowl. That's pretty
Play-by-play man extraordinaire. There's a little hype video going out for our coverage this week that has you featured in it nice and prominently. Don't you worry. So, you'll be able to get a bit more love online for that. Look, it's the longest off-season in all of sport. 207 days from the Super Bowl to the first game of the season. But with a brand new deal struck, the NFL returns to talkSPORT this weekend, and we cannot wait to bring you the action on talkSPORT and talkSPORT 2 with over 90 live commentaries coming your way. All right, Greg, let's get stuck into it. Brand new season here. We've been talking about it for 7+ months. But every year the league throws up these incredible storylines, these ones that we want to take a look at. And so let's take a deep dive. And we're going to talk rookies in a little while. We're going to talk about some of our dark horse teams. But I want to start off in the AFC because every year we talk. I feel like when I first started covering the NFL, I felt like every other Super Bowl, if not every Super Bowl I went to, we were talking about Tom Brady's legacy, the Patriots. That was the big deal. Now it's been the Chiefs for 3 straight years, 5 of the last 6. Is there anyone in the AFC who can dethrone this absolute juggernaut?
Of course. I mean, this is abnormal what the Chiefs are doing. And they're going to be in the mix at the end of the year. It would be shocking if they weren't. But to have 2 quarterbacks who are playing on Sunday Night Football this week with Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, who essentially split the MVP award a year ago, and have smart franchises building up around them, to have those 3 quarterbacks all in the same conference. And meanwhile, over on the side, Joe Burrow's I wish my franchise was as smart as yours because I'm just as good as you. It's crazy. We're used to unpredictability, Will, you know that, or I got used to it, but it actually hasn't been that unpredictable lately in the NFL at the top, especially the AFC.
That's been the frustration, right, is that it has been a bit of a wash in recent years. And you're seeing the 3 phenomenal quarterbacks that you mentioned, these brilliant rosters being put together. You know, we're starting to feel, to put it in tennis terms for you, Greg, a little bit of Andy Murray-itis, where if these people existed at a time when it wasn't Roger Federer and Rafa Nadal and Novak Djokovic, then maybe they'd already have titles to their names. But I know both you and I, as we discussed a little bit earlier, are very bullish on the Ravens in particular.
Right. They have a roster, to me, that is complete. Where is the big issue? I guess you could talk about their interior offensive line, but that's also the same offensive line that helped Derrick Henry have one of the most underrated 2,000-yard seasons of all time from scrimmage, and I love his backups too. So I just think they're as complete in terms of the weapons around Lamar Jackson. And then I also think on defense, they've added smart pieces there. They've taken some gambles in the secondary, including with Jair Alexander. And then they have a coach, Will, I know that it's really important to have some continuity. And Zach Orr struggled a little bit running their defense a year ago, but by the end of the year, they were much better overall. And I think year 2 of his system, they're going to be a lot better.
Exactly that. And look, while everyone is looking at a team like the Lions, who have been perennial contenders the last couple of years, having had a lot of years in the wilderness before that, and big question marks over losing both your coordinators, losing an all-pro player on the line. And for me, it's that continuity for the Ravens that continuity shouldn't be a thing that gets you excited, right? In theory, it doesn't sound very sexy, but keeping Ronnie Stanley is absolutely huge for me. You mentioned it there, Zach Orr, the way that they developed that defense in the second half of the year and now are going to be able to support the back end with the rookie Malachi Starks as well. You had the veterans they brought in there. And actually, on the other side of the ball as well, this Todd Monken offense being run by Lamar Jackson has just improved year on year, done more and more. And not to make it too kind of ESPN first takey, like you feel like if they can get over that mental side of things, if they can get over the hump in the playoffs, this is a team that have everything in place to go to a Super Bowl, if not win one.
Yeah, a little like Andy Murray. Like it feels like you'll never be able to do it until you do it. And it reminds me of Peyton Manning, Lamar Jackson in a lot of ways, because he's done all the individual awards, and obviously he's a different style of player. But Peyton Manning could not win in the playoffs for year after year after year. And if you just keep getting back to that point, things will break right for you, I believe, at some point. And I do think this year in particular looks great for them. The problem is, if you put them in the NFC, I just would feel a lot better. But their schedule is going to be difficult with Burrow in his division, with the Steelers defense in their division. And I do think the Bills and the Chiefs particularly have easier path, at least in the regular season, because that Burrow versus Lamar clash, to take it back for your fans, I mean, that's probably the best divisional rivalry among quarterbacks since the 1990s when it was Jim Kelly versus Dan Marino. Like, they are that good.
It's lofty, but it's true. And I heard you talking about this on NFL Daily. Like, I think we maybe underappreciate that right now because maybe the Bengals, despite having been to a Super Bowl, since the Ravens have certainly, haven't felt maybe as competitive game to game against the Ravens, whereas we've talked about them as a Super Bowl contender the last 2 years. But I think it's hugely underrated that we've got these two young men still in their mid-20s, still with a lot of football to be played in their career, and you imagine in the same division for that entire time. So I love that element. The Bengals, I think, are not a team I'm talking about in these AFC can they dethrone the Chiefs terms. The offense is so good and so loaded, but the way the organization has been run from an ownership perspective, the fact that Trey Hendrickson only got done in the last week, their superstar pass rusher, they had all the nonsense with their rookie pass rusher as well. They don't quite clear that level for me. But Greg, why are we both so bullish on the Ravens, which we both are? Why should fans of teams like the Bills, who really think they can get over the hump, also be bullish this year, or maybe you're less so?
Well, the Bills have continuity on offense, and that was as good or better of an offense than the Ravens a year ago. They're expecting improvement from some of their young players like Keon Coleman, who's a second-year wide receiver, like Dalton Kincaid. They have a lot of good players, and I think a good scheme around a truly great quarterback. So what I think they need is some of those good younger players to really elevate, and you often do that when you have continuity on the roster. The problem for them, I think, is going to be on the defensive side. I think their offense is going to need to be fantastic. It'll be fascinating to see this week one matchup, but just long term, even looking at the secondary, looking at up front, counting on a free agent pickup like Joey Bosa, do they have enough juice to get it done? And for the Bengals, you know who disagrees with everything we're just saying? Like, everyone in Cincinnati, they're all expecting them to be Super Bowl contenders. And I get it. Like, they just need their defense to be average, and they're right there. Like, they lost those Ravens games a year ago by, a botched kick and losing at the last second because their offense was elite. And I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth because I always say, like, offense is more predictable. Offense and quarterbacks matter more. And I don't have a lot of questions about the Bengals offense.
That's fair. And look, it's probably since the Broncos and the no-fly zone since we had a defense that went and could win a championship. But is there one maybe out there in the AFC in that Broncos team? Or maybe we might get back to that idea of defense wins championships. The Texans as well, with their two superstar pass rushers, with at least one corner you consider top 3 in the NFL. And I really like the guys lining up opposite him as well. Like, There are a couple of dark horses in this conference who actually are saying, no, we're going to go old school. It's not going to be about our offense. We're going to have to shut you down.
Right, but they all have good quarterbacks. I would throw the Chargers in that mix. They were the number 1 team last year in terms of points allowed, and they did it with a roster full of players that you were surprised were that good. So that's Jesse Minter running their defense. It's Vance Joseph running the Broncos defense, which just looks loaded, and D'Amico Ryans running that Texans defense, where I think they have the best edge rush combination that you mentioned, Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, and then the best secondary in the league, and a really great, energetic coach. But the difference between those 3 teams and some defense first teams is I believe in C.J. Stroud, the Texans quarterback. I believe in Bo Nix as a guy who can at least keep it going with a very good offensive coach. And then I definitely believe in Justin Herbert, even though he's broken my heart. again and again.
Again and again and again, but the Chargers are used to heartbreak. That's something that, as an organization, they do specialize in. This whole conversation is about who can dethrone the Chiefs in theory, right? But what I do love going into the season, what I'm super excited about, is the Patrick Mahomes revenge tour. Is that I know that he will have listened to everyone who spoken negatively about that offense over the last 2 or 3 years, who've said they've not been able to throw deep since Tyreek Hill was there, that they've become dink and dunk, they've had to rely on his legs in key moments. And I think they are going to come out this year with a retooled offensive line, with, in theory, a very healthy receiving core, and Rashee Rice coming back from suspension in week 7. And I'm maybe not as high on the Chiefs in the playoffs as I am about a number of these other teams, but I really think this offense is going to turn around and go back to being a 28, 30 plus point an offense team.
It's really interesting how teams come back and their success is so consistent, like the Patriots and the Chiefs, but the way that they get there is often changing, and I agree with you. I don't think their defense is going to be as good this year. I don't think they have enough pass rush. I think they have too many questions in the secondary. They'll scheme it up eventually, but I do expect them to just bring the fun back. It's been a boring offense to watch, which is hard to believe with Patrick Mahomes, but just throwing the ball short. I do think Xavier Worthy's getting better. I think Hollywood Brown was a good pickup for them. And Josh Simmons, for people who are just tuning in to the NFL, is the most talented offensive lineman in the entire draft, and he somehow fell to the Chiefs because of off-field stuff and injuries, and yet he was out there in training camp looking like he could win Offensive Rookie of the Year as an offensive lineman, and he could change their entire team. So I'm with you that I think Mahomes is going to have a great season, and more importantly for me, I just think they'll be more entertaining.
I'll tell you what, because I wanted to kind of address the NFC side as well, and we'll do a bit of a pick at the end. And this is our quick fire look at the season, because there are so many storylines going into it. And obviously, tune in to talkSPORT 2 from 5 p.m. Sunday evening. Nat Coombs, myself, Ollie Hunter, Brian, all involved in the coverage. It's going to be, comprehensive, over 90 games, like we said. But Josh Simmons feeds us nicely into those rookies that we're excited to watch out for. Because when I was speaking with the producer about this show, I was talking about a show that you did this week about reasons for joy ahead of the new NFL season, right? And there's so many reasons for joy, but for me, the one that I will always come to is new blood, new faces, new guys to be hyped for, and none more so than the wide receiver / cornerback of the Jacksonville Jaguars coming out here to London in week 7. The first true two-way player in, well, probably 60-plus years in the NFL, in Travis Hunter. And look, Greg, not that we should be so agreeable on everything here, but I know that you are as high on this guy as I am.
Right. I mean, very often we're not agreeable with each other. I mean, you just took a shot earlier, I think, saying, like, I'm reusing my takes from NFL Daily. I'm going to do it again. I love Travis Hunter. That's such a unique take. But weirdly here, at least, like in the States, I actually think the buzz has been relatively low considering how transformative a talent he is. And I think that's partly because he's in Jacksonville, and I think that's partly because so many people still don't believe, Will, that he can really do it. And he's listed as a starter at wide receiver, and he's listed as a backup at cornerback, but I think he'll get a lot of snaps there. I truly believe he is better as a prospect than his teammate Brian Thomas Jr. was a year ago.
Wow.
And he had, 1,200 yards as a rookie? I mean, that's just as a receiver. And most people believe he was better as a cornerback. So I am fine raising the expectations. I'm heartbroken. I'm not going to that Rams-Jaguars game, but I do hope to see you at the Vikings game in week 4,
no chance that you could just fly out for another one. Like, you just, it's such a jet setter, Greg. I mean, I'm sure we're going to be seeing you in San Francisco in February as well. Is that the first you've mentioned that you might be coming out to Europe this year? Is that something we're allowed to talk about?
I should be announcing that. I don't know why I haven't announcing. I am coming, yeah. I'm going to be at the Dublin game, and I will be there for the game the following week in London. And, yeah, hope to hook up with talkSPORT there. But, man, I'm higher, and this is a different topic, but I know we're going to talk dark horses. I think Travis Hunter is part of the reason why I'm high on this Jaguars team in general. Like, this AFC team, this AFC field looks loaded, but if you're looking for a surprise team that I do think can make the playoffs, I think Travis Hunter is going to be a big reason why the Jaguars are much better this year.
I'm intrigued from the Travis Hunter perspective, and if people aren't believers, I urge you, like, I've only been doing this professionally for sort of 12 years or so. And when it comes to watching prospects, I'm no film watcher. I think, like, you know, people who can really project what a guy is going to be in 2 or 3 years' time by watching their skill set, I think is an incredible skill. And scouting, I think, is insanely difficult to hit that nail on the head time and time again, like some of these guys do. But he just moves like no other human being I've ever seen move on an NFL field. Like, it sounds silly because he is a wide receiver / corner, but when he plays wide receiver, he moves like a corner. Like, the way his hips turn, the way he turns to the ball, the way he makes the catches, like, all of it to me is so unique that I think, like, that's going to just throw everybody off. And he's also insanely smart. You have to be to play both sides of the ball. You have to be to learn both playbooks. You have to be able to be in both sets of team meetings, to have the energy levels to play as many snaps as he did, to have the intelligence to play on both sides of the ball like he did. This is a special guy. And if you think that he's been overhyped, I think, if anything, like Greg says, he's been underhyped. I am so ready for him to get into the NFL. I do want to mention the number 1 overall pick, though, because is there ever been a more disrespected number 1 overall pick at quarterback than Cam Ward? Like, here in the UK, there are 4 televised games this weekend in that 9 o'clock window, 4 p.m. Eastern window, right? And there are 4 games in that window. On TV, 2 channels are showing Lions-Packers, the other 2 are showing the other 2 games, and the number 1 pick against maybe the best defense in the NFL is not on TV here. You have to watch it on Game Pass. That's wild to me. Like, that is a storyline going into the first week of any other season. Should be top of everyone's list.
It's very much on Cam Ward's radar. He's talked about it. It's on the Titans fans' radar. It's just a reflection of the rest of that team, and that matchup in particular looks one-sided, Denver at home. But Cam Ward is box office. Cam Ward is a great quarterback prospect in that even if it doesn't go perfectly well this year and he's not set up for success, he just doesn't have enough, I think, pass catchers around him. The way he plays football is so entertaining. I think his floor at the NFL level, to bring up another quarterback that played college in the state of Tennessee, is a guy like Jay Cutler that is very entertaining to watch, that has box office throws. Cam Ward will take it to another level, like he's the next generation of it, but provide a lot of highlights at the very least, and I think be a plus quarterback. And the ceiling is even higher than that. But I think he's going to have some moments this year that get everyone's attention, even if he hasn't gotten it before the season.
We're previewing the new NFL season on talkSPORT Daily. Don't forget to check out the talkSPORT YouTube channel, talkSPORT USA, which has all of our NFL coverage on there. Some great interviews we've done this week, like Sir Jordan Davis from the Eagles, Ricky Pearsall we spoke to this week on the anniversary of his shooting. We spoke to him, and fascinating on that, but also on his relationship with Brock Purdy, becoming a number 1 wide receiver. Loads more going up there this week as well. So do go and check that stuff out. And Greg, I said about talking about dark horses. I feel like to move into this, let's make it about moving into the NFC. Maybe just tell me who you like at the top end of that conference. But for me, I think there are 3 teams I have who I think I don't see them in the playoffs. And one of those I'm wavering on a little bit in the Saints, the Panthers, and the Giants. But then beyond that, team 3 to 13, I feel like I could put in almost any order right now, and I wouldn't be stunned come January.
It's pretty wide open. Look, if the Eagles, Lions, or I would even throw in the Packers now after getting Micah Parsons, fail to make the playoffs, that's my test. It's going to be a huge disappointment. So the expectations are really high for those 3 teams. And there's a few others, like the Rams, certainly, if they were healthy and had a bad season, they'd be disappointed. But you're absolutely right that you can make the case for a lot of teams sliding into that 5, 6, 7 role. I'm really fascinated by the NFC West in general, but the Cardinals are the team that I think are fun to watch, and it's all been building to this point. They're year 3 of their GM and coach. I think they've done a good job with the talent that they had. I think they're creative schematically. I think they have fun young talent in terms of Marvin Harrison, and they definitely added a lot of interesting pieces in the offseason to their defense to get a little older, and then Will Johnson at cornerback is a second-round pick. Walter Nolan's hurt right now, but eventually he's going to be good, I think. And so they're a team where it's go time. And in Seattle, like, it's Mike Macdonald year 2. It feels like it's go time for them. And that division, you could shake them up with the Rams and the 49ers any which way, and I wouldn't totally be shocked. I think they're all really good teams, and I think they all have beneficial schedules outside of the division.
Yeah, beneficial schedules, good teams, all of them with potential holes as well. With the Rams, as you said, Matthew Stafford being his health being the key thing. It reminds you a little bit if there was a Tony Romo season, I think around sort of 2013, 2014, when he had his back injury and he was having to have injections every week, and every Wednesday he took off practice. And, you know, that Cowboys team looked like it could be a special team, and he was never really mobile and never really there. And I worry that that's going to be the case with this Rams team as well. I love the Seahawks defense this year. My only worry with the Cardinals defense is that they were so wild last year and threw so many exotic looks and did so much fun stuff, and that they have now got older and wiser and so many more snaps. And I do have a little fear that Jonathan Gannon, the head coach and former defensive coordinator at the Eagles, is just going to go, oh, we can get into like 2nd and 9s and 2nd and 8s now because we've got an okay defense in talent-wise, so I'm just going to go back and revert to 4 down linemen, rushing, keeping it very simple. I worry that they'll lose some of that fun and some of that flair, but then I actually really like them on the offensive side of the ball now. I think now they've added Zay Jones, who can kind of fulfill like an on the line of scrimmage, doing the actual X role that allows Marvin Harrison Jr. to be a lot more mobile, move across the formation, do more. Add in Trey McBride as well, who I know, you know, friend of the show of yours, Jordan Rodriguez, wrote a brilliant piece on this summer. Actually, I'm higher on their offense than I have been for years, and I really like the Cardinals as a dark horse pick.
Right, I do too, and I mean, you could make the case for any of these teams, and I do think it's interesting in this division too. Now, McVay and Shanahan are the old guard, and they're two of the best game-to-game game planners in the entire NFL, and I look at Gannon and Mike McDaniel as coaches as relative upstarts. If you put them in a different division, I would think, man, they'd have a coaching advantage, but it's so tough to get past these two guys. You know, could it be a season where the upstarts overtake, you know, Shanahan? Everyone's expecting a big bounce back season for your team, and the numbers all love San Francisco. You know, in Las Vegas, they have one of the highest win totals because of their schedule and because of the talent on their team, and yet I just don't know. I just want to see it. This whole division to me is fascinating and really talented. It's one of the only divisions I can ever remember where literally none of the teams will, in Vegas at least, in terms of the betting odds, are predicted to have a losing season. All of them are at 8.5 or above, which is crazy.
I have to say, like, I think the 49ers have as many ifs as any team in the NFL right now. Like, if this works, if they stay healthy, if, like, they could be an 11-12 win playoff team and maybe even go deep in the playoffs, but there are so many things that have to fall right for that to happen, and that for me reduces the size of your window, reduces that percentage. And the only team that I wanted to mention as kind of almost the reverse of a dark horse for me, and I don't want this to be some hot take machine, but when I sat and I figured out my picks this year, and I went through and I did my divisions and I did my wild cards, I dislike so much what they did this offseason, despite really loving their head coach and them having maybe a top 5 quarterback in the NFL if it flashes out. I really struggle to put the Washington Commanders in the playoffs. I just don't like anything else that they did. And can Jaden Daniels strap that whole team to his back? Does Dan Quinn make enough of a difference as head coach? Because they just got older and worse at so many positions. And to me, they might be the real surprise on the other side of it for me.
Yeah, I was surprised how positive the predictions have been for the Commanders coming into the season from the analytical models and just from, you know, the national writers and everything. I'm with you. It's more just that I think when you have a new regime and a young quarterback and you have a surprising season that much, the natural tendency is to fall back. And they really don't have a solid foundation with which they're building that record off last season. And they've had to fill it in with these older veterans that you mentioned. And I do think their margin for error is paper thin. And I just like too many other teams in the conference, like a Viking. Like, I think the Vikings are less likely, for instance, to fall off because I think their foundation and what they've built over a handful of years is better than what the Commanders have built. Even the Cowboys, even without Micah Parsons, I I kind of like their offensive talent a little better than the Commanders.
Wow. Well, look, let's put it all on the line then. I know you made your picks earlier this week on your show, but who's going to be in Santa Clara in February and who's taking home the Lombardi?
I have a Ravens Super Bowl victory breaking the hearts of the Detroit Lions, and I really think the Lions are going to have a special regular season. Their schedule is so tough out of the gate and then throughout, and I think that's why a lot of the models are down on them and they lose the coordinators. I think what they've done over the last 4 or 5 years could be studied in football management, university, and I do think they will be rewarded and get to that big game and have a great season. Ultimately, when they get there, if the Ravens can get out of the gauntlet of the AFC, and I do think they are the most talented and best team, I have a hard time. I'm too basic taking Jared Goff over Lamar Jackson in the Super Bowl. I mean, it could happen. Jalen Hurts' team just wax Patrick Mahomes. It could happen, but I'm going to go with the Ravens to win that game. But, man, that would be a Super Bowl I would love to see.
It's really boring to do things as a wash, and I'm sorry for that. But I can't go against what I've picked on the channel already and what I've picked on talkSPORT already. I also have a Ravens Super Bowl victory. I really feel like this is the year that they get over that playoff hump. They make the Super Bowl. I have them, and I want to make very clear on this, that I had them this way 10, 11 days ago before a certain blockbuster trade happened. I have them over the Green Bay Packers. Micah Parsons just made me go, oh, now I feel like a genius, because actually, that feels much more realistic for me. It's about Jordan Love's getting steady, turning those brilliant moments into something much more consistent. I love them this year, though, and I think with the Lions' slight tail off with that tough schedule, with the changes, I like the Packers to rise above the top of that. So those were our predictions. We'd love to hear from you as well over on our USA talkSPORT YouTube channel. That was the talkSPORT Daily. Massive thanks to you, Gregg Rosenthal. Thank you so much to everyone for listening. There'll be another one of these first thing tomorrow morning. Make sure to drop us a follow, and you'll never miss a show.